May 22nd is officially known in Bitcoin as Bitcoin Pizza Day. We always hear about Laszlo, and we always hear about how he spent 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. But what about the other person on the other end of that trade? I feel as though we don't hear too much about him. What's that person's story? We're going to take a little bit of a different approach to Bitcoin Pizza Day. And let's take a look at the person who accepted the 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Welcome back, everybody. Happy Pizza Day. All right, let's take a look. And it's interesting, right? Because so many Bitcoiners are carnivores. Pizza isn't exactly, quote unquote, the most healthy thing. Although there are people who will argue about the virtues of the tomato sauce and the selenium in the tomatoes and whatever. And of course, pizza may be not that terrible for you if you don't put a whole bunch of really terrible ingredients on it. Anyways, that is a completely different debate. Something we are not going to get into. I am a fan of pizza, so I'm going to stake that in the ground right now. Anyways, let's dive into this story. We always hear about Laszlo, right? I'm going to give a little bit of a background for the people who, for whatever reason, do not know the story. Then we're going to take a look at the other side of the story, which to me is kind of more interesting, right? Because this is the piece of the story that everybody knows, 400 times over again. Reflecting on a decade of Bitcoin, from 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza to $1 trillion market capitalization. On May 22nd, 2010, a programmer named Laszlo, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name because I'll just destroy it. Again, too many consonants for me. Made history by purchasing 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm not pretending to make it plural. It's just 10,000 Bitcoin. You're not making Bitcoins. Anyways, it's probably a whole other debate that's going to trigger a bunch of people. Okay, at the time, Bitcoin was worth just a fraction of a cent, and a few people hadn't even heard of it. Today, Bitcoin is the most valuable and widely recognized crypto asset. I hate it when they use terms like crypto asset because that essentially ends up grouping all these other shit coins in with Bitcoin. And what happens is that it validates, indirectly, it helps validate the shitcoin use case, even though they are completely different things. Today, Bitcoin is the most valuable and widely recognized crypto asset in the world and had hit a peak market capitalization of over $1 trillion during the last bull run. The value of 10,000 BTC today is approximately $270 million US. While Laszlo's decision to trade 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas may seem foolish in hindsight, at the time it was a bold and visionary move that helped demonstrate the potential of Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. There we have the summary, the basic summary, for Laszlo essentially sending the 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John's pizzas. Okay, now let's take a look at the other side of that trade. On the other end of the infamous pizza deal was, and I want everyone to say hello to the other person in that trade, Jeremy Sturdivant, a product development engineer who spent those Bitcoin for traveling. And again, with the plural Bitcoin. What's wrong with these people? Sturdivant, who was simply referred to as the alias Jerkos on the Bitcoin Talk community forum, was a 19-year-old student when he came across the unusual request. Sturdivant himself doesn't appear on the forum chat, but he told Bitcoin Who's Who that the conversation with Laszlo happened on IRC chat. He added that the Bitcoin he received in exchange for the delivery of 2 pizzas was later used to finance his US travel plans. Sturdivant's Bitcoin holdings also helped him buy games, apart from supporting his travels. More importantly, he claims that he has no regrets over the turn of events and that he was content with the fact he inadvertently played a pioneering role in our collective history. The 2018 interview is also where Sturdivant's trail of mainstream interactions ends. He doesn't appear to have a verifiable social media account, which makes it almost impossible to check on his current whereabouts or on what he's been up to over the last several years. What is the takeaway? What is the takeaway from all this? Because it's and of course, right? Like I came into the space in I'm gonna say it was like late 2015, early 2016. I was using Bitcoin for medium of exchange, and it's so interesting. Many of us in the beginning, our stories are the same. So a lot of people who came to Bitcoin for medium of exchange most likely spent a lot more Bitcoin than most people will ever end up seeing in their entire lives. That is, you know, sadly the truth of the matter. As Bitcoin continues to eat the world's value. But okay, so what is the main takeaway, right? The main takeaway is this: everybody who thinks all these OGs hodled, they're wrong. They're wrong. People wanted to use this. They wanted to see what they could do with it. So they were attempting to spend it, and spend it they did, right? And as we can see, you know, Jeremy, who received 10,000 Bitcoin, right? Did a whole bunch of traveling, bought a bunch of video games. Now, one thing we don't know is, does Jeremy have any Bitcoin left? I hope for him he does. And I got to be honest, I think I'd like to believe that the fact he has no social media presence is telling about that he may have hodled some of that Bitcoin. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the other side of the story. I think it's important. I think it's important to cover that piece of the story because truthfully, ever since I got into Bitcoin, I had only ever heard of Laszlo, and it was actually Matt Odell that tuned me into the other guy, right? Because in an interview that I did with him many years ago, when I was doing my audio only podcast, I brought up, you know, the Bitcoin pizza guy, and he said to me, he goes, you know, nobody ever asks about the other guy. You know, where's he now? What did he do? And I was, in all honesty, I was mind blown. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, how did I not think of some, you know, of that? It's just so obvious, right? Like we always talk about Laszlo. What about the other guy? Well, now you know a little bit more about the other guy. Support the show, like, subscribe, and I will catch you all tomorrow.